Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Dark Art Society podcast. I'm your host, Chet, and today we're doing something a little different, a shorter episode. I'm talking to Gabe Leonard about his experience at the LA protests this weekend. He went down there to draw the crowds, basically, and he's just been complaining on a text thread we have about the coverage of the protests, and since he was there all day, he wanted to share what his perspective was on it. So Gabe is, he's probably, I feel like he's the most unbiased person I know. I mean, nobody's totally unbiased, but Gabe is like very fair-minded, even-handed, and really is about as unbiased as you can get. So I wanted to get his perspective on it because I trust his judgment. So anyway, we had a nice little short discussion. It's coming up. If you want to support this podcast, go to patreon.com/darkartsociety and you can join for just $1 a month. Even if you can only afford $1, you could just support it for 1 month. If you listen to the podcast, it keeps it free for everyone. So I appreciate that. If you join at the $5 and above level, you can get a 30%. Let me try that again. If you join at the $5 and above level, you can get a 30% discount code at Skull Shop, SKULLSHOPPE.com. You've seen the skulls. I've showed them a million times. I have an unboxing video. Actually, I'm probably going to post today on the Dark Art Society podcast YouTube page, unboxing a couple skulls I got from Kyle at the Skull Shop. Also, let's talk about the Beautiful Bazaar Art Prize. They are our sponsor for the next few episodes. Entries are now open for the 2025 Beautiful Bazaar Art Prize, and there's over $77,000 worth of cash and prizes to be won. The Beautiful Bazaar Art Prize has 6 award categories covering sculpture, photography, digital art, drawing, painting, and a separate emerging artist award as well. You don't need to submit a physical artwork, just enter online via their website. There's a whole host of cash and product prizes to be won, plus the chance to exhibit in the Beautiful Bazaar magazine exhibition at Haven Gallery in Northport, New York in October 2025. Better yet, the Beautiful Bazaar magazine team guarantee that they look at every single entry. This is a great way to get on their radar for future opportunities too. They are also sharing many of the entries on their social media and online blogs until entries close on July 17th. Don't miss this chance to become part of the Beautiful Bazaar Hall of Fame and win some incredible prizes. For more information and to enter, go to beautifulbazaarartprize.art. Also, you'll find their information and a link in the description of this podcast. If you want to support what I'm doing, you can go to patreon.com/ChetZar. You could also join for as little as $1 on my Patreon. I'm posting, that's still wet. New pieces I'm doing, subtractive paintings. I just put a new tutorial up and all kinds of good stuff over there. So that's it. Let's get into it with Gabe Leonard and his observations from the LA protests this weekend. All right. Hope you enjoy it. Hi, Gabe.
Hi, Chet.
How you doing?
Good. I think we've talked about this. Like, it seems like sometimes when we're making art, like we're making prophecies and stuff that we make kind of bears out into the and around us, and we're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I made a painting earlier, like middle of last year. I started this buffalo series of paintings, and I made one with a bunch of buffalo in a field in front of like this. Like it looks like a building with a light. It's kind of nighttime. It was called "I Was There."
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was there, and that seems to be the current theme going on. Like,
right? Yeah. I wanted to get Gabe on to do a quick, maybe shorter podcast, but just because he was down at the protest.
I live right across the street from this shit, from what's going on downtown. It's literally, I walk out the front door past Union Station, across Alameda, and right into burning Waymo cars.
So Gabe was down there.
And to be truthful, it's about fucking time, because those Waymo cars are everywhere and they're fucking annoying.
I haven't seen. You know me, I'm out in the suburbs, so I never see that stuff. But I just thought it was such a great idea for you to go down and draw what you were seeing.
Yeah, that was the intention. I hooked up with a neighbor of mine. We walked over there to the Federal Detention Center, which is where they're starting to protest, which is on Alameda, just across the 101 freeway, right like a block or two from the City Hall, right? Mm-hmm. And we walk over there, and there's a crowd of people standing around the street, and they're all yelling at the police, and there's some National Guard people right in front of the detention center. And the National Guard and the police, they're just standing there with their clear shields and doing nothing. And people were there expressing themselves. They're pissed off. They're telling ICE to go fuck off. And what are you guys doing here? You should be ashamed of who are you fighting? You're fighting citizens here. What are you doing? And it was, maybe there's 150, 200 people around, and maybe there was about 25, 30. I got a video of the National Guard and the police. I did a drawing of them standing there, which I can show later. And so the idea was to go out there, I've been to a couple of other little things that happened downtown. I got and do drawings of it. I was out when the AOC and Bernie were in town. I went and drew tens of thousands of people.
Right.
Tens of thousands of people out there. But it was much more organized. This has happened as a reaction to what's going on, mm-hmm. And basically what's going on is people in the neighborhood are getting rounded up where they work. Like they're going to Home Depots with armored personnel carriers and goons that don't have any names or badges, just rounding people up, indiscriminately. And people are pissed off about it.
Right.
It's the people in the neighborhood are upset.
Yeah.
And so I went out there. I thought, I'll do some drawings. I'll see what is going on. I mean, it's right across the street from me. I was going to check it out.
What day was this?
This was on Sunday.
Okay.
So the first ICE raids and resistance to them happened on Friday. There was some protests on Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, I went out there. And, so I was there. And I was like, you know what? I was there for about 15, 20 minutes, and everybody was just kind of like chanting and protesting and yelling and stuff, and they're pissed off. I was like, I wanted to go walk around to City Hall, so I walked to Temple Street on the corner of Temple and Alameda, and I was going to go up Temple towards City Hall. Then all of a sudden, there was a big commotion, and the police pushed everybody in a big line, pushed everybody to the corner. And, there was some... it was weird that there was people with the press there. They had like press things on their jackets and things, and they were photographing right in the front line of the police. And the police were shooting rubber bullets at the ground in front of the protesters to get them to back up. Mm-hmm. And everybody was backing up, and it was tense. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like everybody was shaking hands and kumbaya. It was tense for sure, but it wasn't violent. There were people in the crowd doing nutty things, like there'd be somebody come out from the back and throw a water bottle over the heads of everybody towards the police. And and you don't know who these people are. That it's not a. I think we have this idea that protesters are supposed to act a certain way, but you have a big group of people from different parts of the neighborhood. Some of them, they're all in small groups. Like I was there with people from my neighbors that I knew. And then there were other people in small groups. They were friends. It was just like neighborhood people. Right. And they had handmade signs, and they were basically complaining about ICE and stuff. and the police pushed everybody back, and they were trying to cordon the crowd around certain areas. And I wanted to go up to City Hall, and there was some debate about the people I was with whether they should stay there or go up to the City Hall and see what was going on up there. And what happened is a bunch of more police showed up. They started forming a bigger line. But what happened after that was a whole parade of people from City Hall started marching down the street. It was bizarre. It was like watching, you're watching like probably about 1,500, 2,000 people walk down the street chanting and carrying signs. And the police backed up, and they backed off. And then there was more just yelling people yelling at the police. There were some people who come up and really taunt some of the police officers, because the police officers, their faces were showing. They had their names and their badges were there. They were not hiding.
Right.
And I kind of felt bad for them. They looked nervous. They were focused. From what I saw, they were doing, I think, what they were supposed to be doing, which is maintaining crowd control. They were protecting that building, and they didn't want people storming into the building, which I didn't see anybody even attempt anything like that. But there are people in the crowd who you don't. They're like kind of like lone wolves. They're by themselves. They're on a skateboard. They're tagging shit. They're doing stuff, and they're not part of the main group.
Right.
And then you have other people come in, and they're trying to get big swaths of the people to go down a street somewhere, and you have all these people trying to influence and distract and interfere with the intent of what people are there to protest. And you're like, you see somebody with a megaphone, like, "Hey, everybody, we're going this way." You're like, "Who the fuck are you?" you know, and it can be confusing.
That's the problem with spontaneous protests.
Yeah, so I didn't see any real organization at the protest, so it was very spontaneous. But what was real was there's people from all walks of life. There was, it wasn't just Mexicans out there. There was white, black, Asian, like everybody, young, old. It was a mixed crowd out there, and but they were all focused on fuck ICE and get out of our city. That was the main message I was hearing. Yeah.
Were you scared?
No.
Did you get scared at any point?
I wasn't scared. I was aware that there was danger present. I wasn't, running up to try to get billy clubbed in the leg or something. But as long as you weren't antagonizing anybody or getting in the face of the police, you're not going to get hurt.
Right.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
Some people did get hit with rubber bullets and stuff. But, I figured if I'm going to get billy clubbed, it ain't going to be at the first protest I go to.
Yeah, right. I'm not going to hang back a little bit.
It wasn't. Yeah, there was this weird feeling that I had, which was like at any moment it could snap. Like somebody could start throwing bricks or fire bombs. Like you were just worried that some stupid asshole was going to come out of the woodwork and do something that did not represent what the majority of people were there.
Right. And it's being represented by so many people as fully that way.
Yeah, well, there were a couple of dudes that would come up, and I saw this guy come up on his bike, and he would pick out an officer by name and just start taunting him.
Yeah,
and then some chick would come up with a fan, like one of those fold-out Asian fans, and kind of wave it in front of his face and distract him and get him away, because he was not helping anybody by antagonizing and personally antagonizing one of the officers.
I saw a lot of that. I saw a lot of at least from, because I was watching it all day on Agenda Free TV.
Oh yeah, Lookner.
Yeah, he's great. He's amazing.
But here's the thing. So,
but wait, what I saw, I did see a lot of protesters yelling, "Don't do that! Stop doing that!
Yeah,
Stop doing!" There was a lot of people.
There are people in the crowd that are trying to police the crowd a bit to find agitators and keep them distracted.
Yeah, because it makes everybody look bad.
But so what eventually happened was, there's just a bunch of standing around, and after a while, my back starts getting sore, and I have to pee. And it turns out there's nowhere to pee at a protest, so I walk about 4 or 5 blocks to Grand Central Market. And as soon as I got about a block and a half away from where I was at, it was like nothing. Like you wouldn't know anything was going on. It was just a quiet, peaceful, nice day in downtown LA. Went to Grand Central Market. Had a chicken sandwich at the chicken place, had a beer, grabbed a cold brew, sat down for a bit, and then decided to go back to meet up with the friends I was with there. But outside of this 2 or 3 block area of downtown LA, which includes the Federal Detention Center, like up towards around City Hall, and that's all right next to the 101 freeway. Mm-hmm. Outside of that area, that's all it is, like 3-block area, basically. Right.
Yeah. And if you're watching it on TV, it appeared that it was like all over LA and even on the freeways.
The city of LA is not burning, and it's not descending into chaos. It is business as usual everywhere else.
Yep.
Like I came to the studio this morning and it was quiet downtown. There's nothing going on down there.
Yeah.
what's going on is there's protests during the day, and it's just the average citizens out there protesting. When it gets closer to nighttime, almost everybody goes home except for the people who want to loot shit, burn donuts in the street, and all that kind of stuff. What it does is it creates cover for people who want to cause trouble to cause trouble.
Right.
But it's not citywide. The police are handling it just fine. And I just saw this press briefing that Trump gave on the news, and he's completely lying to the country about what's going on.
Yeah.
The National Guard did not do shit. They did what they were there to do, which was stand in front of the federal building, but they weren't out controlling the crowd or having anything to do with it, pushing people down the street or dispersing the crowd.
Right. That
was all LAPD and the Sheriff's Department,
yeah.
The CHP. I saw them out there.
That's what I saw too.
In fact, when so at the end of the day, before I walked home, I was walking up towards Olvera Street, where there's like those little Mexican restaurants, and it's like a little tourist destination, and that's where I saw the Waymo cars, and they were all like, it was strange. I walked up on them, it was like going to a city walk or something, like the Universal City Walk. It looked like a art exhibit. So these Waymo cars, they were all kind of parked like they were put there. I know
in the middle of the street?
Yeah, they just got stopped there, and when they get stopped, they don't go anywhere. Their tires were flat, and they were covered in graffiti, and I'm like, this is really an interesting visual. This is like a sign of the times. So I shot video of them and pictures, and I was shooting a video of the first car that caught on fire. I saw smoke coming out of the back of it, and at that point, I'm like, you know what? This is going to cause a lot of bad smoke. I'm going to get the hell out of here. And I left. But there were some nutty things going on, but all of this happened like in a small area.
Yeah,
and it's not the national emergency that Trump is making it out to be whatsoever. What's going on is that there's a sense of fear and anger being stoked by this escalation that's happening. And I'm worried it's going to draw more crazy people out of the woodwork.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, LA is one of the biggest cities in the country too. And it's like, there's going to be crazy people coming in and trying to start shit in one of the biggest cities in the country.
We don't even need people to come in to start shit. When you have 3.5 million people in your city, 10 million people in your county, you're going to have enough anarchists to cause problems.
Yeah.
And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing people come in, and there's small groups that aren't participating with them. They're like taking cover under what the rest of the protesters are doing. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're seeing. What you're not seeing is riots. I wouldn't categorize this as riots. They're people, as the majority of the crowd, they're not throwing rocks and doing shit. Did that happen? Yeah, it did happen, but it wasn't from the majority of the crowd that I saw there. Right. And not only that, but the crowd wasn't even as big as when the Dodgers won the World Series. That crowd was even bigger, and it snarled up traffic even worse. It was
really?
Yeah, it was crazy. The protests we had a few months ago down there, down in downtown, were way bigger than this. And so this is actually a much smaller so far smaller than what I've seen in the last year. I've seen bigger outpourings into the street, and I don't know what to tell people, but it isn't what you're seeing. One of the things that's really pissing me off is I see all this shit on social media, the internet, and TV talking about a small portion of what's going on down there, and having all kinds of opinions about what it is and characterizing it in certain ways, and they have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And having been there firsthand and seeing it with my own eyes and being in and around it, and then seeing the narrative that people are fighting over about it online, is just mind-boggling. It's like, it is not what you're seeing on TV. That is not the extent. What you're seeing is the sensational stuff that makes for good TV.
Yeah.
Like burning cars and throwing rocks is way more exciting to post than pictures of people standing around holding a sign when their back is sore.
Right.
Which is what most of it was. Like, it's hot out here. I'm hungry. I got to piss. That's what most of it was. Oh, the police are pushing the people back. Okay, we're backing up now. And they were grabbing people that were marked with press, and they were throwing them behind them so that they couldn't be in front of documenting what the police were doing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They got one guy that just grabbed him by his jacket, and they pulled him behind their line.
Wow.
I live streamed it. I probably have it on my live stream footage.
Oh, wow.
I got about an hour of live stream footage.
Oh, cool. Is it saved up there? Is it saved in your thing? Like, or is it going to disappear?
No, it was saved in my TikTok, but I downloaded it to my phone, so I got it.
Oh, cool. Cool.
I haven't gone through it and looked at it and everything.
What's your TikTok?
Gabe Leonard Art. I don't know if you'll see it on my account, but I did live stream it.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, having lived through a major riot, which was the
92?
Rodney King situation, that was a fucking riot. That was crazy. It's like I was working on a film or a TV show. I can't remember what it was. I think, oh no, it was a TV show, I think. And I was in downtown, like Culver City, and we got there and it was just starting and we weren't sure what to do. So everyone showed up to the studio to work. It was on set and they were like, okay, we're calling it off. I remember driving there, seeing a 7-Eleven that had some graffiti on it. And I was like, and it was, it was related to what was going on. And I don't remember what it said, but it was on the side of the wall. And went to work. They're like, go home. We're closing production down for the day. And then driving back, it was just gutted. The whole 7-Eleven windows were broken. Everything was gone. And people were like, running past me. And I was stopped, at a light trying to get on the freeway, and there's just people running right by you, right next to your window. It was like scary. There's a big difference between a protest and a riot.
Yeah, that didn't happen. It hasn't happened yet. We don't know what's happened in the future. Right. But what I saw was not that. What I saw was an angry crowd of protesters pissed off about ICE raids in their community, and they were doing whatever they could feel like they could do, which is take to the street and protest the government. That's what they're doing. Yeah,
which is very American. It's a very American thing to do.
The National Guard was at the Federal Detention Center protecting the entrance into the building there. And the police were trying to control the crowd and disperse them after it starts getting dark. That's when they start, at a certain point, they let the people rant and rave as much as they wanted to, for the most part, until it gets to a certain time at night. And then they're like, everybody kind of wants to go home. Right. Like, that was my feeling. It was like, you can come out and protest another day. This is, you don't have to.
Yeah, protest all night.
At some point, maybe you need to be out there all the time. I don't know, but I went out there to witness what was going on. I was like, I got to see this for myself, and I only managed to do a couple of drawings.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to focus.
Yeah.
Well, it's not necessarily it's hard to focus, but when I start drawing, I get too focused on what I'm doing and maybe not paying attention to what's going on around me enough. And I can see how that could lead to me getting billy clubbed by not paying attention to what the police are doing or saying.
Yeah.
I'm not facing them or something,
Yeah. I had a really eye-opening experience. It seems like overall the police were handling it pretty well. From what I saw, they were aggressive in some instances where they didn't need to be, but they weren't, for the most part, trying to hurt people. There were some cases, I think, where they shot protesters at them with those rubber bullets, and and I saw them club people that didn't need. It was like kind of unnecessary, but okay, yeah.
I imagine they've got a lot of adrenaline going, and we all want people to act in some sort of perfect way in the heat of the moment like this.
But yeah, when there's crowds of people in this situation, it's going to happen. Here and there.
After being right there, I'm surprised it was as peaceful as it was. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know. There were moments watching it where I was like, it felt like. So all this would take would be someone throwing something like a Molotov cocktail or something really dangerous that would set the whole thing off. And thank God, nobody did.
Yeah, that's what I was worried about. Because all it takes is a couple of yahoos in the crowd to do something.
Literally,
and then everybody gets painted with that brush.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I had speaking of that, how the police were handling, I had an experience when I'm sure I told you this, and I know I've said it on the podcast, but for anybody who hasn't heard it, it was a very eye-opening experience about protests and the LAPD. Actually, we were protesting. I went to go to a protest that was for the against the Gulf War, and it was small. It was like a couple hundred people. It was at the federal building. I don't remember. It wasn't in downtown LA. It was somewhere else, some other federal building. But it was small, same vibe, very tense. Riot police were out front. There was like almost as many police as there were protesters to this thing. I don't know if you remember back in the day, it was like everybody supported the Gulf War. It was like, if you didn't support the Gulf War, people were pissed at you. It was like everybody united after,
Kuwait got invaded.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like 14 in Wyoming, so
right, yeah, exactly. But
I was actually worried about it. I remember because my uncle was in the National Guard in Missouri, and he got called into action on that, and he was also a Vietnam vet. And I remember thinking, which he got drafted into Vietnam. And I was concerned because I was like 14. I was like, man, if this goes on for a few years and they initiate a draft, I could be drafted into a war.
Yeah, a lot of people were worried. I was worried about that too.
I did a drawing of this zombie guy in a pile of skulls. I remember doing this crazy drawing. I don't know whatever happened to that thing.
That'd be cool to have. But so anyway, we were down at this protest. Like I said, it was not popular to be protesting the war at the time. Eventually, the tides turned with that. But we were down there. There was almost as many police as there were protesters. There weren't a ton of protesters, and the cops were it was super tense from the moment I got there. It was very tense, and they were filming the protesters. The cops were also had all kinds of video equipment filming the protesters. And there was a line of motorcycle police. And anytime anybody drove by and honked in support, they pulled them over and gave them a ticket. So there was just a line, like one after the other. The motorcycle cops would leave. And they were whistling that stupid song. That song. They were like egging the protesters on by whistling this overtly patriotic song, I guess. And it was really felt like a tense situation where it wasn't like they were just doing their jobs. It's like they were trying to get something going. It felt like the police. Then I went to another protest that I thought was an anti-war protest. It turns out it was a pro-war rally. And there was like 1,000 people at that one, and there were two cops walking around. Two cops, literally two like plainclothes guys, and we had our signs like idiots protesting the war. and the two cops came up to us and they were like, I don't know, I'd get out of here if I were you. Basically said, you're gonna get your ass kicked if you don't leave. And it was like the disparity between those two images of how the cops versus protesters, with the element of how it was unpopular to be protesting against that war at the time. It was fucked up. It really made me lose faith in a lot of that authority.
My sense is that the police are on the side of the police.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
the government's on the government side, right?
Absolutely.
But I didn't get the sense that the police were trying to aggravate the situation further by like doing petty insults or anything like that.
Right.
I saw people from the crowd lobbying petty insults at the officers sometimes, or asking, questioning them about what are they doing here, or there's a lot of they're trying, lots of chants about shaming them for being on the side of the government, but that doesn't make any. But they are the government. So,
Right.
But they didn't seem like they were on anybody's side other than their own side.
Yeah.
But they weren't trying to inflame things. They were.
Yeah.
They were doing their maneuvers and trying to control the crowd. Like at some point, sometimes you wonder, like, well, like, do they really need to be pushing the crowd around, or what are they doing? Like, the police are there to protect property. They ain't there to protect you generally.
Right.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, the other thing about the looting that everyone's talking about, oh, there's looting and rioting everywhere. It's like there was that one convenience store in Paramount, like a AM/PM, that got looted, and then I saw last night there was an Adidas store that got looted, and people were trying to get the into the Apple store, but the cops were there protecting it. And it's like, these are not protesters doing this.
Yeah,
protesters don't do this shit.
They're doing this they're opportunists.
Take it, yeah.
So the police are really busy dealing with one thing. That means that they're not paying attention to the Apple store. Well, maybe the Apple store they are, but they're not paying attention to AM/PM.
Right. Yeah, right, in Paramount.
You know, and if anybody's looting, they should be arrested and prosecuted for it.
Totally. Everybody agrees on that. Every protester would say the same thing, too. Every legitimate protester, which is the vast majority of people out there, would agree.
Anybody,
they get pissed off. I saw so many people at one point on this one live stream I was watching. It was at last night. There was
Little Tokyo, which is just a block farther down the street from the Federal Detention Center.
Oh, okay. They were trying to break into a sushi place that said sushi and wine, and so I don't know why they were trying to break into a sushi place, but they opened the door, and immediately protesters, people that were there legitimately running and like, no, get out of here. Don't do that. And I saw that all throughout the live streams I saw. You heard that a lot of people like telling people, don't screw this up, keep it peaceful. You know, it's like nobody wants that except the assholes.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know.
But anyways, I just wanted to kind of express that there's a really distorted view of what's actually happening going on. And a lot of people have a lot of opinions on it. And I wouldn't listen to very much of any of it because they're full of shit. Yeah. They're not there. They don't know what they're talking about. And
they don't live here.
Everything, the way that they're talking about the words, the way they're framing it, like rioting and chaos. Like I saw this one guy, California's descending into chaos. I'm like, what?
Go look at YouTube. Half the videos are like, California descends into chaos. Exactly those words. And it's like, that's partially due to the algorithm, though, too. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's the most interesting. If all you ever focused on was every fatal car wreck on the road, you'd think that just people were doing nothing but dying on the streets.
Right.
You know, how sensational is an airplane crash? But how often does it happen? You know,
right.
I'm sure there's some sort of fallacy here where we're just paying attention to the thing that is the most interesting thing to pay attention to. Right. But it isn't really a clear and accurate depiction of what's really going on.
Yeah.
You know, I've been having to talk to my family and keeping them, just telling them, like, look, that's not happening here. Don't worry. Like, keep my mom calm. Like, don't worry about it. It's like, why'd you go out there? I'm like, because it's in my neighborhood. But I can tell you, I saw it firsthand. I know what's going on out there. What you're seeing on TV and on social media is a distortion. Yeah. You're seeing the most sensational things that could happen at these events. And then the news is that's what's happening. Right. You know, but mostly what's happening is middle-aged dudes are standing around with sore backs having to piss.
Yeah, it's funny. Like the Waymo cars on fire was like on every feed. Like that was the main event, and it was like
maybe Lyft and Uber drivers set them on fire.
Right. Corporate espionage.
Yeah. Those cars are everywhere around Union Station now.
Really?
Yeah.
I haven't seen one.
I see them like every time I leave. I see like 2 or 3 of them driving around every time I'm there. Like
Josh kept telling us it was going to happen, and I was doubtful that there would be driverless cars. It just seems so crazy to me. But
I see them because I'm at Union Station, and there's lots of people getting rides and stuff there all the time.
Would you get in one of those cars?
Would I get in one? Probably. No. Am I looking to, like, I'm to the point now when I travel, I go to the airport, I just go to the taxi line. I don't even call an Uber or Lyft.
Oh, really?
They don't treat their workers very fair. They basically are having their workers compete against themselves for rides, and it's like they're treated like shit.
Yep. No benefits.
Yeah, I know some people who do Uber and Lyft riding.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and it sounds pretty brutal to me, the way those companies treat them.
Yeah.
But they have flexibility. They get to keep their own schedules. There is some benefits. I don't know. We don't need to get into Uber and Lyft driving, but
I don't know. Well, you know, all day you kept saying this to me via text to Josh and I in this text thread that we have. You're like, it's not the way what you're seeing, because even to me watching Lookner's stream, it seemed a little more crazy than it actually was.
The thing that kind of is the most distorting way of talking about it is calling them riots.
Yeah, definitely.
Like what you described sounds more like riots. It was a citywide, and people were getting killed, and the police departments were overrun, and it's like the police department, from what I can tell, is not overrun. They had it handled.
Yeah, right.
It was tense. It was civil unrest.
Right.
It wasn't, I don't know what people expect, but I think we have this idea in our head about the perfect protest where you don't leave any trash behind and everybody follows all the rules. Like, that ain't, it's a chaotic experience.
Yeah.
And that chaos has been instigated by the shit that the government is doing in our neighborhood.
Right.
And I think if it hadn't been preluded with all the people being deported and then being brought back on because they were illegally deported or wrongfully deported, like all of that is like, you don't want it. Like, here's the thing. If I see people at Home Depot getting rounded up and thrown in vans and just out of the blue, I might not think about it. It's like, well, they're doing a raid. But with the context of everything else that's been going on, and also, it's these faceless, badgeless,
I know,
unaccountable. We don't know the conditions they're being.
Yeah.
All stuff. But here's the thing: if they can do that to the most vulnerable people like this, they can do that to anybody. Yeah. Anytime somebody's in power and gets a hair up their ass and they want you gone, they're going to have unmarked cars with faceless people coming and kidnapping your ass off the street.
Yep.
And that's what we're fighting.
What could you do if one of those guys or a group of those guys came to you and threw you in a van? You wouldn't be able to do shit.
Not much. Even if you could, you can't fight off a bunch of people. It's like, you're screwed.
Even with your master jujitsu skills. Sorry.
Look, jujitsu trains me in how to grapple. And I know how to grapple on a padded floor when I know how someone's attacking me. It doesn't train for being swarmed by a bunch of goons.
Right.
And the most likely thing, if I tried to jujitsu anybody, is that, maybe I heel hook the first guy, but then I get billy clubbed in the head and really hurt.
Right. Yeah.
So the best thing to do for my jujitsu training is to not get in a fight.
Yeah.
So, like, when I'm down there on the protest, like, I'm not looking to get hurt.
Right.
I don't know what someone else's mind what they're capable of. So my initial reaction is to avoid injury and to pace myself and not try to get into a situation and let your emotions take over and get into a scuffle with a police officer because you're getting emotionally sucked into something.
Yeah.
I'm not going to, like, there might be a time and a place where someone's attacking you. You have to defend yourself. That might happen, but I'm not looking to find myself in that position.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to test it out.
No, I'm there. I was there to represent my community and to witness to what was going on, and to try to document it for my art. Like, I go down there to draw it. Like, what else could I, as an artist, can you do but go down there and be in it?
Yeah.
And you take that experience back into your art. Like, I was there, I saw what happened, and I can use those experiences in what I'm creating and the way I express myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's important to go participate. You don't have to go down there and I didn't carry signs. I didn't yell at anybody. I didn't say a damn thing to anybody.
Mm-hmm. You're just an extra body there.
Yeah, I mean, I saw people attacking those Waymo cars and jumping on top of them. It's like, I could have grabbed them, throw them off the car, and tried to, like, and then have a bunch of them with skateboards come and beat the shit out of me for a Waymo car because I'm trying to make the protest look good. Like, no, your first instinct is to make sure that you and people you're with aren't getting hurt,
right?
And that you're there to express yourself as you have the right to do under the Constitution. I don't like it. I don't want to have to be in the street. I just want to go home. I want to come to the studio, make my art. But this shit's happening around me, so I can't ignore it.
Yeah. I just had a funny image of you standing on top of the Waymo car with your shirt off, going, yeah.
Yeah, funny is the right word, I guess.
Watching the Lookner stream. Hey, there's Gabe on the Waymo car.
I was probably on that Lookner stream at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. I was looking for you. I didn't see you.
Lisa said she saw me there.
Yeah, that's great. Yep, you're famous. Yeah, I didn't realize it was so close to where your place was, too.
Literally across the street.
It's so weird.
So I have a firsthand experience of it, and
so when I turn in to drop you off, where is it?
If you go, it's where Union Station faces Alameda. It's right across the street from Union Station.
Okay.
So right over by Olivera Street and just the blocks that are west of that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I know where that is.
The Federal Detention Center is right next to the 101. City Hall is like a couple blocks away.
It's like where the freeway on ramp is right over there too. I know where that is.
Yep.
I don't know the area that well, but I didn't realize it was that close until you told me. I just thought all of LA was burning to the ground. No, that
would be the impression you get if you see it on the news. Like, it's just chaos, and like there's this not only that, but this talk about the National Guards coming in and putting things like that is complete fabricated bullshit. The National, I maybe saw a dozen National Guard troops there, and all they were doing that I saw was standing in front of the Federal Building.
Right.
And once the police pushed people away from that entrance and that part of the, I didn't see them again.
Right.
They were there. It's almost like they were there because they were instructed to be there, but they weren't needed. There was no necessity for them that I could see that they needed to be there.
Yeah.
The police aren't being overrun by protesters. The crowd isn't even that big. It's not even close to as big as the last two outpourings in the street I saw in the last year.
Right.
Like I said, one for the Dodgers after they won the World Series, and one when Bernie and AOC were in town.
Yeah. But I keep seeing the California's in flames. That's the other thing they're talking about. The whole state. People are saying the whole state's in chaos and in flames. And if you're living across the country and you're hearing that constantly over and over in your social media feeds, it's
when I first moved to LA in 1998, I remember one of the things I did is I was going to go to Hollywood, see this Walk of Stars. And I remember I got to Hollywood. I was so disappointed at how much of a piece of shit it was.
It's such a shithole.
It was just a shithole.
Hollywood Boulevard is so crappy.
But when you see it on TV, it's like Hollywood and lights and shines, and I'm like, oh, and you thought it was just like this wonderful paradise, and it was a shithole.
Totally.
You can't believe what you're seeing, and that's the one thing. One of the reasons I wanted to talk to you about is like the fucking influencers. Shut the fuck up. Why do we pay attention to people beyond a microphone?
Yeah.
Not that you should pay attention to us, but like, god damn, like these people with all their opinions and they have no clue that they aren't there.
Yeah. I know.
They don't know what they're talking about.
It's annoying.
They have no idea. It's a distortion and it's not true. And then watching Trump today just completely run his mouth full of lies, paid protest, like, really?
That's the other thing.
Beer kiosk,
Yeah, that's the other thing you keep hearing from
The only thing that makes me think
folks.
is that he pays people to go to his rallies.
Right. Yeah, if he's saying that. It's like,
where did he get that idea from? Where does that even come from? He just makes that stuff up.
Exactly. Yeah.
The city would have been burning if he didn't send the National Guard in. Like, no.
Yeah.
The city is under cloud cover because of the marine layer.
Right.
But we're not burning to the ground. Like everywhere else outside of that 2 or 3 block radius downtown is like the birds are still chirping and things are still happening and it's business as usual. In fact, if you didn't have any access to the internet or TV, you'd be like, I wonder what those helicopters are over downtown. Huh?
Yeah.
For a high-speed chase? You wouldn't know it.
Yeah.
Now, is that going to change in the next day or two? I don't know. It could. It could turn into all kinds of protests all over the city. I don't know.
Yeah, anything could happen, man. But
what we're seeing so far,
it hasn't yet.
It's not what you're being told online. And
Yeah.
please quit listening to influencers.
Yes.
They don't participate in life. They're just there to give you a story, and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Yeah, they're just there to make money, and what makes money is controversy, and
They're there to influence you
yeah, right.
and manipulate their idea into your head. Don't listen to it.
And it's only to make money.
When things are really going to change is when we quit living our lives and experiencing everything through our fucking phone and actually go out into the street and see what's happening. That's
Yeah,
what
right.
will change. Everybody's, when is somebody going to do something? Well, bitch, this is the time to do it. Go out and see it.
Exactly.
Quit living through your phone.
Yep. I agree.
My TED talk here. It's just like, it drives me nuts now. I see this and I'm just like, oh my God, people are seeing this and that's what they think is going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's dumb.
Who was I just talking about this? About it might have been on one of the podcasts. I can't remember. It's all a blur to me, but it's like this solution is so simple to all this, manipulation by social media and algorithms. It's just like, get off the social media platform.
Quit. Get off of it. They can't manipulate you anymore.
Yeah. It's not that hard. Social media is not that cool. It's not that great.
But it's got us addicted. There's a dopamine response.
Right. But it's like any addiction, though. Once you get away from it, you realize, oh, this is, that was controlling me. And just because you're addicted doesn't mean you shouldn't stop.
The
you should
key
stop.
Is you have to learn to be comfortable being bored.
Yeah. Or finding regular life interesting, or finding the things about regular life
Well, that's what'll happen is if you allow yourself to be bored, eventually you'll find something to do with yourself that is more constructive than looking for somebody else's opinion about something that they have no experience with and don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
What the fuck is Russell Brand doing talking about Greta Thunberg?
I know.
Why would anybody listen to that douchebag?
Yeah. People build up trust with these. A lot of these influencers tell these people what they want to hear.
Yeah.
And so then they're like, oh, this person is one of my people. They're trustworthy because they're saying, I knew that all along. I had the feeling it was like that. And he's reinforcing my opinion.
I'm telling you, the only influencers I listen to now is Bigfoot. Like even Bigfoot's got a better social media game than I do now.
I know.
But he's actually spitting truth.
I have been off social media for, I think we've all kind of, or at least me and you have been off.
Well, I mean, I've been posting to Instagram stories about my art stuff.
Yeah, but you're not sitting there. You're not on there all the time, are you? Like hours a day?
No. At nighttime, I get on there mostly at night. And even that's too much.
Right.
But there's a lot of shit going on, and it's nerve-wracking. And social media is a source of self-soothing. I got to get my blood sugar down, my cholesterol down, and I can't be eating myself into pleasure anymore. I got to do something.
Yeah, I got to do something.
I guess I could just go to sleep. Maybe that was what I should be doing. I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is, but when I'm looking at this, I keep in the back of my mind that this is just some douchebag, some idiots online that don't know what they're talking about. But this is what people are saying. That's kind of how I try to say, what are people thinking and saying? So at least I know what people are thinking and saying. But like, all of it is garbage.
That's been one of the big bad aspect. The worst aspect of the lack of trust in journalism, like reputable journalists and news sites. It's like that used to be. It was everything's vetted. Everything was vetted. You know, that was part of the deal where there's reputable news
and now
people
it's just it's a rush to control the narrative.
Yeah,
to influence people.
Yeah, and it's like
one way of thinking or another.
Yeah, and making money. That's the other thing. It's like in this new media environment, they're not selling papers anymore, so they have to figure out how to make money online for these news organizations, and that's like a lot of that is sensationalism.
Yeah, well, we're all in for a terrible surprise if we keep doing it this way.
Yeah. Well, those are ominous words from Gabe Leonard.
Yeah. But in the meantime, the getting's good.
I feel like everything's so kind of screwed up that now it's never been a better time to follow your heart. Do what you want to do, because you might not have that much longer to do it.
I'm trying to keep focused on making the artwork before it becomes irrelevant again.
Honestly, I really, for what it's worth, and it's not worth much, but I don't feel hopeless. I really don't. I felt optimistic when I went out there. Yeah.
I felt optimistic because it felt like what's happening is an act of desperation, not on the side of the people, but on the side of whatever is being shoved down our throat, it's failing. When you see what's happening in the city and what the government is trying to do, it's not an act of power and something that's working. It's an act of failure. It's a lashing out. When it's like going back to the jiu-jitsu stuff. When I see they start flailing about, they get over their skis, they get off balance, they start doing one thing to the other, and they start getting trapped in worse and worse positions. So it looks like this is the beginning of the end to me.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be misplaced optimism too, but I had an optimistic feeling about it. I didn't feel scared there. I felt like they're going to try to control the narrative. They're going to try to ratchet it up and make it seem like, and ultimately, I don't think the military that is being sent in is going to do what Trump or the government thinks it's going to do.
Yeah.
I think what you're likely to see is maybe the protests are probably going to peter out throughout the week. There's supposed to be some big events going on Saturday, but I won't necessarily be there. I got a belt ceremony at my jiu-jitsu school, so I'll be there hanging out. I think
on the 14th or 15th, they're supposed to have protests all over the country.
Yeah, so there's going to be something happening this weekend, but it isn't going to be focused on LA. I get the feeling that there's just so much failure going on in the government that they're trying to do something that looks like they're doing something that makes them look strong and authoritative, and like they're taking care of business, and they aren't doing a good job of it. They're meddling, they're making things worse, they're stoking anger and fear and confusion, they're lying to the public, and ultimately all those things, they break apart because they're not built on solid foundation of truth.
Yeah, right.
Eventually the true nature of things comes through, and all this other stuff starts crumbling apart.
Yeah.
And that's how I felt about it. And
I agree.
yeah, so is it chaotic and unnerving and crazy times? Yes. Are there riots in the street? Not yet. Not that I could see. Was there civil unrest? Yes. Was there people doing some violent things, burning cars? Yes, that did happen. Were there people protesting peacefully? A vast majority of them. Were there people looking for a place to pee and rest their back? Yes, that was me. Luckily, the restaurants were still open, so I could get a chicken sandwich. And it was delicious. By the way, the fried chicken place in Grand Central Market is awesome.
Really?
You're not going to eat there, but
yeah.
If you eat meat, it's great. It's really good.
Wow. Yeah, you get some good places down there. Also,
yeah, I went to Purgatory Pizza on Saturday, which is like,
give a shout out to Purgatory Pizza.
Yeah, 2 blocks away from all this was Purgatory. It's like on the other side of the LA River on like 1st or 2nd Street. Yeah, blocks away.
It's so good, that place. Oh,
and there were protests on Saturday too, but I was busy at the graveyard doing sketches for one of my paintings, and then going to Purgatory Pizza. And I didn't know. I wasn't even aware that there was really any protests going on. I knew that. I mean, other than I lived next to it and there were helicopters, but there wasn't much going on. Sunday, I was in the middle of it and I could see it for myself. But.
Right. You were at a graveyard?
Yeah.
Oh, you got to tell me next time.
Yeah.
Go to a graveyard with you.
Yeah, I'm working on these tombstones in one of my paintings, and I've got them blocked. I've been there several times, and I need to go back and study how the words and things are chiseled onto the stone and the patterns. Like, I'm trying to get away from just photographing everything. Just relying so much on my own photographic references.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to rely more on personal observation and study. My sketchbooks, which I think leads to really good outcomes in the paintings, but it's a lot more time consuming.
What's the cemetery? Which cemetery is it?
There's a couple in South LA. I can't remember the name of them. My friend Albert, one of them is on Cesar Chavez, like all the way down. And there's another one that's got a little bit bigger tombstones and stuff that look pretty cool. I can't remember their names. I should pay attention more to it. I just drive in and just create grades by doing drawings of them. I found one with my name on it though. It was Leonard.
Really?
Young Leonard. I'm like, oh, great. He died 100 years ago.
Wow. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I love graveyards. I've always loved graveyards. They just are so calm and peaceful. It's a strange thing.
Yeah, they are. They are. They're worth going to visit, even if you don't know anybody there.
Yeah, they're just peaceful. They're very peaceful to me.
Yeah, they're done rioting. They're in their forever homes.
Well, did you have anything else you wanted to say, or is that about it?
I think we got to most of it.
Well, I wanted to get your opinion because you were down there. I wanted to hear your story about it.
Mostly, you got me venting about it. Like, I'm more angry about how it's being talked about. That gets to me more about how it's being portrayed and talked about than what actually was happening there.
Right? Yeah.
What's actually happening there is way more important.
Right.
But what's important about it is getting lost because the way it's being talked about.
Right. Yeah. Because the sensationalism and the burning cars are.
And if I could say anything to people, is like, quit listening to shit you're seeing online and go out and see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Like, you want to know what Hawaii is like? You can't experience it through your phone.
Yeah.
And anything you see anybody saying, bullshit.
Yeah.
Don't listen to me either.
Yeah. At the very least, question it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a mess.
But this experience is making it easier for me to just sort of shrug off social media influence. Like, I start seeing how thin it is.
Yeah.
It's just this layer of veneer.
Yeah.
That is just muck. It is not helpful, not useful, and all it's doing is just polluting your thoughts and polluting the way you perceive the world through somebody else's garbage trying to get paid by the algorithm. Like, I don't know, man. Like,
that's what it is. That's what 99% of it is. Just getting, that's what's kind of so disgusting about it too, is like most of it isn't because of a political agenda. Most of it is making money serving a certain political agenda, because you could make money by giving that kind of content.
Yeah.
And they don't even believe it. They don't give a shit one way or the other. They're just cashing a check, which makes it that much more disgusting.
Yeah, it's stupid.
Stupidity reigns online. Well, sorry to leave on such a sour note, but
I don't think it was sour.
It's the truth.
Yeah.
Stupidity reigns.
A lot of times the truth is just boring.
Yeah.
It's not razzle dazzle and exciting, and doesn't have a good composition. It's not filled with smoke.
But, I feel like when you can see things clearly in reality, in your immediate surroundings, and you understand the beauty all around you and the miraculous nature of life itself, life isn't boring anymore. It's like, it's so interesting. Just because, the thing about social media is it takes you away from, it occupies your brain. And so there's no space to contemplate and just sit and think about, like, fuck, this is crazy. This reality, the fact that we're alive and this world is so interesting everywhere. There's things to look at and different textures and sounds and smells, and the weather changes, and it's such a trip. Just being alive is so weird, and we take it all for granted because we're constantly occupied and never have any quiet time for our minds to, like, think about that stuff. But once you really think about it, life becomes kind of magical in the most mundane, boring things, Yeah,
I mean, when I've been working lately on my paintings, I've been working in silence, no music, no nothing, just me, thoughts and working.
That's a good idea, yeah.
And I just ponder all this stuff, and I work through ideas and what I think about things, and how, like, I end up getting in arguments with fictitious people in my brain that I'm trying to explain something to. Sometimes I'm explaining it to my mom, like why am I bringing her into this? But yeah, so creating art gives you an opportunity to do that. That's one way.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
Just taking the time to pay attention to your surroundings, like really pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm. It's a very Zen concept, Well,
there's nowhere else you are.
Yeah.
So every time you're in your head about something else, you're taking your sense of being to some other place, and then you're excluding your own experience through what you're going
right through. Yeah, and the place you're taking your consciousness isn't even real. It's like you're exchanging reality for some.
It is better there.
Through a phone screen.
Yeah.
It's like you got all this amazing shit around you, all this beauty and interesting things and animals, and it's like, I'd rather be looking at this car.
Maybe somebody will post a TikTok about this thing right in front of me later, and I can see it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well, we just keep plugging along.
All right. Well, I got to get back to watching more Bigfoot videos.
All right. Well, thank you for sharing your experience with everybody and giving people the lowdown. Hopefully things don't get crazy. And thank you for coming on. And you have to say your final goodbye to everybody.
Well, it won't be my final goodbye.
Well, not your final goodbye. I said that last time when Stan was on, and he's like, I'm not dying. Hopefully it will be my final goodbye.
If I go down to more protests, I'll bring I'll go down there and I'll live stream it to Instagram and then have you join and you can narrate to people what's going on because
yes,
when you're live streaming, it's loud. You can't really see what you're doing.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay.
We'll do a live broadcast.
Okay. Color commentary.
Yeah.
All right. Well, say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. Stay
Bye,
safe.
everybody. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.